4. Finally, we have time for a game. You really don't get time for a game anymore. Let's see how much I suck. Somebody said I should move my picture over to the bottom right. Bottom left, actually. They're right about that. I really should do this. Yeah, that's much better. There's no need to see my mini-map. So today what I wanted to discuss was the idea, whenever you're looking for what it is you want to do in life, and when you're looking up to other people who have done that, I want you to think about whether or not those people have walked a path that's not available for you. So there's this idea in following in the footsteps of what somebody else has done, but there's also the idea that the person who may have followed a certain path in life may have actually followed that path. He may have actually walked that path over a bridge. And it could be a bridge that somebody actually detached at one end. You know those like rope bridges? It could be that he ran across that bridge to the other side right as the bridge was falling down. So you may not be able to follow in their footsteps. And I bring this up particularly with my business because it's kind of what happened with me. So I remember wanting to be a recording studio technician. I wanted to be the guy that made sure that the consoles worked and the tape machine worked and all that stuff. And I looked up to certain people who were really good at it. One of those people was somebody who always used to talk about how he made his $600 a day doing what he does. Come on, help me kill this fucker. Come on. Oh, you're not going to help me. Anyway, he used to always talk about how I'm getting $75 an hour to do what I enjoy, and I take my time, and I'm good at it, and blah, blah, blah. And I looked up to that because he was genuinely good at troubleshooting electronics. He was really, really good at troubleshooting electronics. He had a way of looking at a schematic and seeing, and he wouldn't see a bridge rectifier, he wouldn't see a clock circuit. Well, I mean, this stuff is like 30 years old, so you never saw a clock circuit. But, you didn't see a clock circuit except for like SMPTE syncing. You didn't see a lot of these, he wouldn't see individual components. He would see a story. And he was really good at seeing a story, and it's something that I took into my mindset, not to see specific individual components, but to always try to find a story. And he was really good at it. And, I looked up to him. I thought, this is the person that I want to be like. I want to learn how to do what this person is doing. I want to be able to do it to their standard of quality. And I thought, everybody said this is not a business you can make money in, but I would see all the jobs he was getting. And clearly it was a business that you could make money in. But the thing is that he started in the early 80s, mid to early 80s, right? And in the mid to early 80s, man, there was no shortage of money in music. There were all these bands getting, these ridiculous, stupid, damn near 7-figure cash advances, just lots of money in music. Therefore, there was a lot of money in having these big studios. Like the 70s and the 80s was kind of that era of excess where you had, if you just look at shit like I think it was either the Yuri 803 or the Yuri 813 or the monitors that were like that, everybody was just spending so much money on all this crap. And I shouldn't call those speakers crap, but I mean, you don't need speakers that are that big to mix music. I mean, but anyway, it's like, there was all this excess and there was all this money available. So there was a lot of money in the field. And I thought that because there was money in the fields for him, that there'd be money in the field for me. So he became a master technician. He became this person that was in every single studio's Rolodex because he started out and he got good during the time in which there was money to be made in what he was doing. So it's not like once the studio business stops being profitable, once there stops being money in it, that his number just magically gets deleted from those Rolodexes. His number is still in all those Rolodexes. And he's still getting phone calls. But the reality is that there are no new studios coming out that have that level of money. The studios that already exist may not need as much maintenance because they may not have as many rooms. Or they may just simply leave things broken because they don't have a budget anymore. And the point that I'm trying to get across is that you may look at somebody who's successful and think, I want to be like them. But the reality is I want you to think about whether or not you can follow their path to success. has the bridge that they ran over to finally meet success. Oh, I don't want to let this guy get killed because I'm looking at the camera. But has the bridge that they've followed to become successful, is that bridge still there? Because like they've reached success, but what will happen if you try to run the same path as them? Will you simply fall into a ditch and die? Will you just fall into the canyon because there is no longer a bridge there? And I bring this up particularly with things like the business that I'm in right now. Because I was actually talking with Eli the other day, and he brought up a good point. You know, I said something along the lines of, he said computer repair is dead, blah, 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 and that, you know, this is a silly thing to try to make any money in, and yet now, years later, he's making a bet that my primary form of income is teaching people how to fix their own computer stuff on this channel. And his argument was, well, you know, what I do is not computer repair, it's advanced electronics repair, it's totally different. And can I kill this greedy fuck? No, I can't kill a centaur as an agility hero at level 4. I can't believe I just said that. Like, those words actually left my mouth. Like, that is really fucking nerdy. I can't kill a centaur as a level 4 agility hero. I just don't, yeah, that's really nerdy. But anyway, and the idea here, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, he was saying something along the lines of, there are a lot of people in my comment section that genuinely believe that swapping CPUs and graphics cards is how they're going to make a living. And I've seen his comments on some of these videos, and I saw him get into some shit with this guy named Carrie Holtzman, where he was saying, you know, computer repair is not dead. If you think, stop saying things like this. I still repair desktop computers to this day. And I want to bring this up because, you know what? And I don't mean anything bad about Carrie Holtzman, but Carrie Holtzman may be able to make money off of building computers and repairing desktop computers, right? He may be able to make money doing that, but is that something that you're going to be able to do? Is the path that somebody like Carrie Holtzman followed to success, is the path that he took to success a path that's available to you? Or is that yet another drawbridge that has been, you know, recluded? That's not the right word. A bridge that's been folded up? Man, I don't know. It's the end of a long day. But is that a path that's going to be available for you? Or is that a path that he took that's no longer available for you? Because I would argue that if you want to make that, again, there are people out there that make money building computers. There are. The people that built their reputation, built their client base, and built their name in like 1993, 1995, 1997, back when you went to Dell.com and you looked at the cost of a computer, and then you went to an independent service center, or it's just some place where you could buy parts from. I don't want to get killed by Stealth Assassin. You went to a place where you could buy the parts, and buying the parts to make that computer was literally 50% the cost of having like Dell or somebody make it for you. Big profit, so a lot of people got into it. But then it became a point where it's like, okay, maybe I'll save 100 or 2 or 300 making my own computer. And then it got to the point where if you're not building some blitzed out machine, that you genuinely probably would spend as much money, maybe sometimes more, going to Newegg and buying everything as you would if you just had Lenovo or Dell assemble you something. And again, if you want some balls to the walls configuration, that may not hold true. But for a regular configuration, it's not about like you're not saving these hundreds of thousands of dollars that people thought you were saving, right? So there was money to be made in doing that. But then time went on and there wasn't money to be made in doing that. But I think the problem that people get into, and I think a lot of is that they delude themselves into the idea that the path that they follow to success is still there for everybody else, when it's not. Like Ricky Began was very successful. He was very, very successful as an electronics repair technician in the recording studio business. He really was. I would argue that the path that he followed to success is not available. Does that mean that you cannot become successful? No. What I'm saying is that if 100 people decided to go down his path in 1986, that maybe 95 of them would actually get somewhere if they really tried hard and they put effort in and they were intelligent. Whereas if 100 people went down that path today, that maybe 2 of them would wind up making a living rather than like 95 or 96, 25 or 30 years ago. That's what I'm getting at here. And the reason I bring this up is because it's something that I tell people even about the industry that I'm in now. Like, I really got into this whole, tinkering around with Apple products at the end of 2008. And there was virtually no competition back then that was worth a shit. I mean, there were companies doing what I do, but again, they didn't keep parts on hand for anything. They had no parts on hand. They would charge like double the part cost plus $200 to $300 in labor to do anything, like even the most basic simple things. You have to keep in mind that also a lot of the devices were simpler to service back then. Again, you didn't have like Air and Retina screens that were bonded in. It was like, it was very simple. You had like $5 iPhone 3G screens back then, like $2 if you bought them from China. Everything was very, very cheap. And now you're in this business where like a decent quality screen is like $90. If you want to do good refurbishing, and when I say good refurbishing, I don't mean this shit. Like, because there were some people that posting in my videos that I did about Sarah and CNET and that iPhone 6 article, like, yes, look, this guy did do a glass-only repair. Okay, maybe you do a glass-only repair with your heat gun and your pry tool and that shit, but will you be able to show that to somebody, like the kind of person that's going, is it going to look the same as it would before I cracked it? Are you going to be able to show it to those Manhattanites and have them not find a single thing wrong with the screen? Probably not. But my point is, like, you look at what it was like back then and you look at what it's like now, and a lot of things have changed. The boards have gotten smaller and more difficult to work on. There is a lot more competition for the same work. The parts are harder to find. A lot of the more basic repairs on these items that uses gateway services to get people in for the more highly profitable services are more difficult to do. So, and above all, as time goes on, the products are going to become cheaper, more difficult, blah, blah, blah. Is the path that I follow to get where I am going to be available for everybody else? So one thing that I'll often say in these videos, and especially with people who want to take the class, anytime somebody calls, if they say, I don't have any way to make money when I go back home off of your instruction, I'll tell them, please don't take this course. And it's not because I don't believe in them, it's just because I really believe that the path that I follow to my own success is a path that may not be available for the next person. And again, I make money off of electronics repair. I make money off of what I'm doing. But if you follow my posts on places like the iFixit Pro Talk forum, or if you follow the comments that I make, you know what my thoughts are on this business. Again, it's all, it's not something that I believe that you can make some good money in the next 2 to 3 years if you're good at this, but this is not something, like, I don't plan on retiring. I don't plan on being, like, in my 50s and making an income soldering QFN chips on Apple motherboards. It's just not what I think. So I will often tell people, I'll tell them, if you have a recycling company and you're getting a lot of Apple products that you're literally selling for, just as is broken, or you're selling them for the cost of the bare metals, I believe that you have something to learn from watching all my videos or coming to my in-person course. If you have a repair shop and you have that client base and you have all those people showing up and giving you money, I believe you may have something to get out of my course. If you're thinking of getting into it, then I don't think there's much you may get out of my course, because again, I don't know if the path that I follow to my success is a path that's going to be here for you. And the reason I believe this is important is because I don't want people to get I don't want kiddies like Mr. Clinton to get the wrong idea that they may be able to follow a path to success that may actually be gone. And this is also something that I think is true with Eli the computer guy, because he, when he used to talk about a lot of the things that he was doing, he used to talk about all, the networking and the consulting and the services that he offered and the build-outs. I mean, I could be giving myself too much credit here, and feel free to tell me if you think I'm giving me too much credit. But the reason that I didn't get into IT from that standpoint, it's not because, I don't think it was because I was too dumb. I just believe it was because that was a bridge that had been slowly, like, broken down over time to the point where that path was not available for me to follow in. Because again, all those build-outs were done. All those huge build-outs and network infrastructure build-outs, and the idea of people making stupid amounts of money to, like, tell a printer to talk to this computer in a small office, that was all like 1995 to 2005-ish era stuff. I don't think that that's something that, again, in like 2016, I don't think I'm going to be able to make my living doing network build-outs. And I think a lot of the people who are making a living doing that now are the people who are probably the people who were making a living doing it in the late 90s or early 2000s, and who still have that client Rolodex. And they built that reputation for themselves during a time when it was easier to build that reputation. If I were starting over as a business right now, things may be a lot different now than they would have when I started. And the reason they'd probably be a lot different now than they were when I started is because it's not as easy. It's like, again, everything is more expensive. Everything is more difficult. Maybe if I had the lesser resources now, the same lesser resources now that I had when I started years ago, I may not have been able to succeed. Maybe there's a higher barrier to entry than what I previously thought. I wasted my ult. Why would I use my ult on the strongest guy in the game? Only to get Santoro'd by Bounty Hunter. That's right, Mr. Clinton. He Santoro'd me. He Santoro'd me. It's okay, because I Santoro'd him back and I stole the kill of Rikimuru, the stealth assassin. So I want you to think about that, because I get a lot of messages from a lot of, and I think that the message gets misconstrued. When I say things like, I hope that people learn how to do this so that they can stop things from going in landfills, and it would be cool if you go to a local recycler and pick stuff up and make it work again. I'm saying I think that would be cool. I think that would be a cool thing if everybody decided, again, like, it would be fun to make broken stuff work again. But when I see people quit their six-figure jobs in careers that make them good money to decide to repair broken electronics, see, that kind of scares me. Because for me, this is like a thing where, again, this was the whole, like, going from working at Modell Sporting Goods or working at Walgreens to, let's see if I can make money doing this, that's cool. But when people are, like, making $200,000 to $600,000 a year and they quit their job, and it's not even like a hobby thing, they quit their job to want to do this, that's scary. And I just want to make sure, that people understand. And this could be said for many different industries. You know, like the success that somebody else had is not necessarily the success that you'll be able to have. You can't just, you can't assume that you'll be able to follow in the footsteps of other people, because the path that they took may not be there anymore. And people often mistake this. They say, well, if the path is not there anymore, then why is that person still successful? Well, they're still successful because they followed the path and they made it over to success. Here's the thing about success. It's really easy to keep success going once you're successful. Like, once you've made that first 100,000 or that first million for yourself, it's really easy to stay there. But it's very difficult to actually get from, $100 to 100,000. Getting from 100,000 to a million, or 100,000 to 2 million, or 1 million to 10 million is something that is not going to kill you. But going from $100 to 100,000, yeah, that is something that I don't know how to explain to you. That is difficult. So it's easy to maintain success once you have it, but it's going to be difficult to actually do all of the work to get there. And I just want to make sure I'm not giving people the wrong idea here. Because again, like, when I saw those comments that Carrie Holtzman left on Eli the Computer Guy's video on, like, I disagree, that computer building is dead because I do it, and blah, blah, blah. And, who says we're just doing it for money? Well, Carrie Holtzman, and again, I don't mean anything negative against Carrie Holtzman here, but Carrie Holtzman may have the luxury of being able to say, I'm not doing this for money, because, he may say, I'm not doing this to get rich, when I'm about to get fucked in the ass here by Centaur. He may have the luxury of saying that because he makes good money. Like, he may make $40,000 or $50,000 I shouldn't call $40,000 a year good money, but he may make $40,000 a year. And if he makes $40,000 a year, he may think, well, I'm not doing this for the money. All of you people are talking about money. Glad that Centaur just got fucked. So it may be easy for him to say, I'm not doing this for money, I have enough money. But for him, let's say the $35,000 or $40,000, and I'm just pulling this figure out of my ass here, I'm not claiming I know what he makes, but $30,000 or $40,000 a year to do what he does and build computers may be just enough for him to live. That may be good enough for him, but that may not be what's available to other people. The idea of making $30,000 to $40,000 a year just by building desktop computers as a hobbyist is one of those pipe dreams. Again, like in 2001 or 1999, that's something where you have a damn good chance of actually doing that and making that money. Like, again, out of 100 people that decide, I want to try to make $40,000 a year just building desktop computers, that's it, putting PCI cards in and screwing things in, that may be something where there's a genuine chance that they can make $40,000 a year. Like, 95 of those 100 people will make $40,000 a year. However, and again, in 2016, I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you get 100 people that decide, I want to make a living for myself building desktop computers, out of 100 people that you grab, maybe 10 of them are able to reach that goal. because the path is just not available. So rather than just walking across the bridge to get from one side of the canyon to the other, now it's not about whether you can simply walk over the bridge. Almost any idiot can walk over the bridge without falling off. Now it's about, can I jump from one side of the canyon to the other? So to achieve the same success, it's no longer about whether you can just walk across a bridge. It's about whether you can jump across a canyon. And walking across a bridge is much easier than jumping across a canyon. Can people still do it? Absolutely. And again, if you ask Harry Holtzman, if you ask the people who were doing that, I'm just using him as an example because he's the one that replied to this old Eli the Computer Guy video. Again, like, would you have been able to jump? You're successful now, but would you have been able to become successful if instead of having to walk across a bridge, you had to jump across a canyon? And it's hard to say. Again, like the people who are successful off of iPhone Repair Now, if they had to buy $95 screens or $20,000 worth of shit to do refurbishing, would they have been as successful as they are now when all they had to do back in 2009 was buy a fucking $2 piece of glass, some adhesive, and $5 worth of screwdrivers? Because in 2009, fixing iPhones was genuinely about buying $2 piece of glass, $5 worth of screwdrivers, and some prying shit, and you were done. And now those shops may be able to afford glass only, right? That guy who started with $50 may have built an empire for himself, but that guy that built an empire for himself, he can probably afford all the glass only refurbishing shit now. But would he be able to afford all that glass only refurbishing shit now if he had started with $50 in his pocket in 2016? And my argument is most likely fuck no. Again, are there maybe 5 out of the 100 people that may try to follow that may be able to somehow beg, borrow, and steal glass-only refurbishing machines or come up with a way to do it so that the screens look perfect using Winterfresh gum, a Utrecht art supply store spatula, and fingernails? That may exist. But the likelihood of it, fuck, I got owned. The likelihood of it is much lower. Are there people out there that may be able to find like the 2 or 3 recording studios that can actually afford to pay somebody a living wage to fix their stuff? Could somebody start right now and find them? Maybe. Is the likelihood of them doing that the same as the likelihood of them doing that in 1986? Probably not. Probably not. So it's just good to follow success in whatever you're doing, because if you're following a successful path, let's say you're less successful than I am, but let's say you're less successful than I am, and you say, I want to be successful like Lewis, so I'm going to do what he does. You may be less successful than I am, but there may be a path that you're following that actually leads somewhere. Whereas if you try to follow my path, you never know. The bridge may have collapsed behind me. I argue every day with people over whether the bridge collapsed behind me. I argue with Jessa every single day for the past 2 years over whether or not the bridge that we followed collapsed behind us. It's just something to think about. And people will bring up like, yeah, but Jay's 2 Cents and Linus Tech Tips and these other channels, they make money off of it. Are you Linus? Are you Jay's 2 Cents? How many other people try to be Linus and fail? How many other people try to be Jay's 2 Cents and fail? Building cool computers and reviewing cool hardware for 6-figure salaries is not something that's available for everyone. And it may not be a path that you can follow. Because when I was a kid and when I was younger, I used to think, well, that guy's successful as, let's say, a loudspeaker engineer. Why can't I be? Well, he started his company during a time frame when people actually paid for music and paid for hi-fis and didn't use like, you know, where that was actually a thing, where it wasn't form over function everywhere, where it wasn't just about how small the fucking system is and all that shit. When people, again, how can you expect people to pay for high-end audio in an era where people don't even pay for music? Like, people are not even spending money on the actual content that they're listening to. So how could I expect people who don't even pay for the music that they listen to want to then pay for the high-end equipment to listen to it on, you know? Like the path that Jim Thiel or Richard Vandersteen followed, I mean, Or, Lansing. Like, is that a path that would be available to somebody in 2016 who didn't just start out independently wealthy? Something to think about. Man, I suck at Dota. Have I said that I suck at Dota? Because if I haven't, I suck at Dota. But it is relaxing, and that's what I'd play the game for. And I know a lot of people hate these kind of videos, the long videos where I talk about some subject and some philosophy. Particularly, they hate when I do it along to a video game. And I've gotten like 40, 50,000 new subscribers in a month. And what I find every time I get a large influx of subscribers is that a lot of people subscribe for the wrong reason. They don't know what type of channel it actually is, and then they get mad when I post certain content. So every now and then when I see I've gotten an influx of subscribers, I just make sure to do 1 or 2 videos that are likely to scare all the people away that probably shouldn't be here. And this is going to be one of those videos. As soon as people see the Dota on the screen, they will run. And if they didn't run when they saw the Dota on the screen, they will run when they see how shitty the gameplay is. You can't see my cat because he's black. And there's light coming in from the window. And the camera is adjusted to the light on my face. So me sitting here with a black cat right now with the lighting in my apartment is literally invisible. Why would I rupture somebody and then not run away? How dumb is that? I just got killed by a creep. Oh, that's embarrassing. I just got killed by a creep, Mr. Clinton. Yes. Moon me, kitty. Come on, come here. Ah, where'd you go, kitty? I was just gonna pet you. Come here. Mr. Clinton ran away. I used to be good at this game when I had time for it. And now I don't have time for it, so I suck. But it's still something kind of keeps my brain active. I'm trying to play this game once a day. That's my goal. Not to get amazing at it. I want to make time to be able to play 1 video game a day. If I can do that, I'm happy with myself. It's good for your head. Yeah, right. I'm not fighting them by myself. Speak for yourself, mofo. They're pinging over here. You can't see because my face is in the way. Fuck me, man. I hope this video doesn't wind up being green. Blackberry? Come here, girl. You want to come on the table? I like move speed. I have nothing more to say, but I guess now I feel obligated to finish the video. Because it's a Let's Play. Can I make a comeback from how bad I suck? Alright, motherfucker. I just getting owned. Owned and raped, man. Owned and raped. What a bad game. I suck. Nah. Respawning in 14 seconds. What am I now? 1 and 4. Oh boy. That's some shit. That is some horse shit. If I had judgment, I wouldn't put this on the internet. Can't be good at every game. Yes, ping, 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 and not be here. That's great. I'm gonna run in. I'm gonna die. No, thanks. Okay, so there's people here now. I ruptured the wrong person. Great. And now I'm dead. Bounty Hunter seems to be doing good. I'm gonna stick with him. I don't want to die anymore. My cat won't even sit on the table. She's so ashamed of how bad I am at Dota that she won't even sit on the table. She comes to sit on the table in every video that I do. But here she's sitting on a chair that's next to the table because she's ashamed of me. And I don't blame my cat for being ashamed of me. I'm ashamed of myself. I belong in the low priority pool. I went to pet Blackberry and now I'm dead. Where am I? Ah, here we go. Let's fuck this guy up. Let's Santoro get me a kill steal. Ah, no kill steal for me. Matthew Santoro on YouTube has proven that plagiarism has no ill effects and no consequences. That you can get away with it. I'm not going to apply it to every aspect of my life, but I am applying it to Dota. There really is no consequence. Like, you really can completely base your content off of not having permission to use somebody to literally read word for word somebody else's words that the other company paid to have written. Then make 6 figures. The guy's probably made $1 million off of YouTube at this point. Never pay them a dime. Be like, whoopsie. Oh, sorry guys, I'm gonna credit you next time. Like, that is such a cock slap, you know? Like, it's a polite cock slap. It's like he's pulling down his pants, he's taking his dick, and he's smacking you in the face while he's apologizing. Santoro, motherfucker. I got it. Like, somebody actually said in the video that I did on that subject that, you know, I do the same thing because I use diagrams from the manufacturer to show you how to fix products. And I would say that you're right if what I was doing was reading a diagram from the manufacturer and then read, like, my video saying, okay, check this power rail before this one. If I was actually reading you a fucking script, if somebody else came up with this entire troubleshooting guide and had to do everything and literally wrote it down into a script, and I was literally sitting there reading you that script, that'd be one thing. But no, I use a diagram to fix things. I'm not plagiarizing the diagram when I find out what the diagram tells me what is on the board. I then have to figure out what's wrong with the board based on how I know it's put together. But I still have to figure that out. But yeah, most things, like, the lesson that'll be learned there is that most things really do blow over. You just have to wait it out and hope that everybody forgets. Same as politics. Do something really nasty, terrible, awful. Wait 2 weeks when people are focusing on something else, and you're absolutely fine. Nobody will care. That's the lesson. Sad as it is. Because I think a lot of people interpreted my Santoro video improperly. I was saying that it wasn't a big deal if he had given people credit. And a lot of people said, no, he still needs to be punished for what he did. Or no, even if he gave credit, that doesn't mean that he had permission. And I said, well, I agree with you. But if he had given credit, if he had said, oh, I get all of my lists from this site, then maybe that site would have figured out what he was doing. And then if they didn't like what he was doing, they could have then said, hey, listen, you're literally copying and pasting our lists for money. Would you be open to a licensing agreement? And then at that point, he could say yes or no. And if he says no, he gets copyright DMCA claimed. If he says yes, then they come up with a split. But at the very least, there would have been an opportunity to do business. The reason it's wrong is because by not giving credit, he never really opened the way for a dialogue for business to be done. See, I don't like a lot of the crap that Apple does, but I make it so abundantly obvious in the most public way that it's impossible for them to not know what my gripes are. It is impossible that nobody at Apple understands that third-party shops are frustrated that they can't get access. They know. They fucking know, you know? They know exactly what they're doing. What am I at now? How many more deaths than kills? 2-6. Oh yeah, I suck. Lowest level on the team by 4. Hey. Can I get you? Oh, this centaur is getting greedy. You know what? He's earned his greed. He's going to kill me. And I'm right by my fountain, and I'm going to get killed. I got to get one of these guys. They're being a little too fucking greedy. There's got to. Get one of these fuckers. If I get anybody, I'm gonna get him. Oh, seriously? You're gonna revive now? Die, mofo. Fucking die. There we go. Let's have some semblance of dignity here. Get Crystalsis. After Crystalsis, I'll get a Bariza. Not Bariza, I mean a Daydouche. Daydouche. That should give you an idea of how long it's been since I played this game. You used to get a Crystalsis, combine it with a Demon Edge, and that would get you a Bariza. Not a Daydouche. That's how long it's been since I was good at playing this fucking game. I feel the need to continue talking because I'm playing the game. Like, I already finished the point of this video, that whole idea of not following the path of other people's success because it may not be there. But the game is still here. So I guess that means I have to come up with other stuff to talk about. I don't have anything else to talk about. Now, one thing that I think I have to become wary of as the channel gets more subscribers, and I talk about it a lot, but I just got to make sure I'm actually following my own advice, is that whole caring what other people think of you thing. I saw this, I've been in a couple of these videos talking about how I think Grade A Under A's videos are hilarious. I've been watching ever since that spider one, where he's talking about the spider that gives you a hard-on and the regular spider, the spider that gives you a hard-on then kills you and all that. His videos are fucking hilarious. There's no way around it. I get how somebody may not like everything he does, but if somebody can genuinely watch every single second of his content and say, I enjoyed none of it, you're probably just a miserable prick or a liar. His stuff is fucking funny. But one of the things that I got from that is there was this one Reddit thread where he was like, man, like somebody gave him some criticism, and it was this criticism given in a backhand manner. It was some backhand criticism, but like there were many different ways he could have replied. And what really killed me is like, you watch those little stick figure characters and you get this idea that Grade A Under A is this guy that doesn't give a fuck. That he doesn't care about anybody who bothers him. And then you see some of the stuff that he's saying, and then it really gets to me. It's, wow, he's a regular person that cares what other people think of him, just like the rest of the world. And like, that's what getting a lot of YouTube subscribers seems to do to people. It just kind of seems to twist their head around in some ways. I still love his content. I still think he's a great, if he's funny, great, good stuff. Some of that shit was just scary, like the stuff he was saying. And he seems to have a level head on his shoulders, so I really hope the same thing doesn't happen to me. That's why with this bet with Eli, the computer guy, where he's talking about how I'm going to be doing just this in a few years, I don't want YouTube to be my world. Like, I like YouTube being the place where I go to film and upload my work, my thoughts, my ramblings, my life. But the idea of this being my life is just something I don't know, man. That's just, no. I mean, yeah, it may give me, if YouTube winds up making a lot of money, that would be cool. I'd fix the floor in the hole in my office. Again, like one of the reasons that I'm able to make good money is because I'm a cheapskate. Like there are a lot of people that will say things like, well, Lewis, you have a nice microscope. I can't afford a nice microscope. And those same people will tell me why they can't buy something when I tell them to buy something. But they'll also talk about how my office looks nasty. How about, my door has had, my bathroom door has had a hole kicked through it that I have brown packing tape and a cardboard box over for 2.5 years. Why? I want to pay $100 for a new door. I want to pay for somebody to put the door in. Or how about the fact that, everybody asks, why did my office turn around? Why did it turn around, and why does the setup change so often? Well, my office was built with one floor up here and one floor over here because it was so fucked up trying to make this dump of a store even and level that we found that it was just easy if we did this. So my construction guy, he was Hungarian, he goes, "Is this boss office?" And I go, "Yes." And it's like, "Maybe you be higher in level than other people." So he was like, "Hey, hey, hey." And he thought this would be a way to get it done. So like, again, leveling the floor was virtually impossible. What we could do is we could make a small portion of the floor slightly higher, and that would be my chair and my table, and then I would have everybody else sitting around slightly lower. That was his idea of his, like, boss be above other people thing. And we laughed, and there was also a cheaper way to get the place constructed. And I didn't have a lot of money when I was putting that place together. So, oh shit, I'm about to die. I gotta finish the story before I die. F. Oh no. Seriously? Dead right by the fountain? Anyway, so we're building the place, and eventually it wound up being, we put a ramp over it because I didn't use the office in that way anymore. Once I gave it to my technician, and sometime around, great, of course, as soon as I decided to get into a fucking story, I die. Go figure. Anyway, as soon as I decided that I was going to get into letting the technician use that office, it was used differently, and that was around 2013. So since the office was then used differently, I didn't have any need anymore to have that office have a separate section. So we just put this little ramp thing over it. And that little ramp thing eventually broke, and that part where the floor was slightly higher in one section than the other section eventually broke, because it was made of cheap shit, because I had no money when I was building the damn store. So what happened is that there's a hole there. Now I had three choices. Behind door number 1, pay $6,000 for the real contractor to redo the entire floor properly. Behind door number 2, have the off-the-books contractor that demanded cash, that seemed kind of shady, redo the floor for $1,000 to $1,200, which probably wouldn't work. And I would still be uncomfortable after a month when it all fell apart. Behind door number 3, spend no money, but spend 45 minutes turning everything around so that my speaker is now stuck in the hole. I don't give a fuck if the speaker is level, not like my office is the one of the acoustic wonders of the world anyway. And then have me sit over here and have my stuff in front of me. I chose the third one. So because I chose to turn my office around, because I chose to turn it around 180 degrees, I saved myself $6,000. And it's one of those things where it's like one of the reasons that I actually can afford to pay for some of the things I want to pay for now is it just comes down to how I spend my money. I didn't buy a camcorder for YouTube until it was proven that, I have thousands and thousands of people watching these videos. I was using that little fucking piece of shit Handycam, and when I wanted to do a video while I was soldering, it was kind of like this, like I'm soldering and I'm showing you something, and the camcorder is sitting between my ear and my shoulder. Very uncomfortable. I didn't invest into these things until there was actual reason to. And I may fix my floor someday. Even though I make good money, I'm not going to fix the floor, because as soon as I get into that mindset of like, I'm going to do things that don't bring me money, fixing that floor is not going to bring me any fucking money. I'm not going to do it. And that's why I have money for the things that do make me money, like a microscope and a soldering iron and the other things that I talk about that I spend money on. But I don't spend money on things that don't return me money. But yeah, again, if YouTube winds up being something that brings me great money, then yes. Maybe if YouTube brings me great money, I'll fix the hole in the floor of my office. Maybe I'll do some reviews of some things that I didn't do reviews of before. Maybe I get a little bit more involved in activism on right to repair and things like that. But ultimately, there has to be a purpose. There has to be something to record. Like, I record talks about client experiences. I record things about employment experiences or employee experiences. I record my thoughts on how to set pricing. I record things on, are you a real business or not? Or I have this one video I did on like how do you define a real business? These all come from the experience of running a business. My electronics repair videos come from the experience of fixing electronics. And a lot of that is based around the business I have now. So I mean, can I really do all of that if I don't have a business? Like, can YouTube content creation in and of itself be a business when all of my YouTube content was based around recording my everyday life of running a business? That's a tricky one. And, again, if I decided to decide, this is not what I'm going to do anymore, I want to become a programmer, then I'll start recording videos on programming. If I decide that I don't want to do this anymore, politics is fun, then I do videos on politics and, and what it was like trying to get that right to repair bill through and actually change legislation. I don't really know what's in store for my 30s, my 40s, or my 50s. But I know that YouTube is not going to be YouTube is not going to be like I sit down here and my job is to fucking yap into a camera about nothing. I have to yap into a camera about what I'm doing, and I have to be doing something, because you take that away, and then, like, what's the point? I can't make comedy out of stick figures. If I could, that would be awesome, but I don't. Those are the people that are making YouTube content for the sake of making content. But I have to make content on something that's topical. I have to make content related to doing something, or there's got to be some component to it, It can't just be I sit here and I just fucking talk for the sake of talking. That would be boring as hell. Speaking of boring as hell, I think that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I think I'm going to stop. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.